Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. This is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. I don't have too many graphics to show, so I'm going to put my big mug full screen for this one. But I've had, and also a disclaimer, I jumped off the back of my bus earlier, and I came down on a rock that I did not see there, and I rolled my ankle very, very hard to the outside. So I'm, needless to say, sitting very uncomfortably with my foot propped up underneath the table, and I'm on some feel better medication. So if I stumble over a few words, please understand. But I still wanted to get this video out there because I've had a lot of guys and surprisingly many, many women asking me, hey, I like your videos, I like your content, but I would like to date a guy that is you guys, that is smart, that is aware of kind of how society is, and where do I find a guy? And so I had to think about this a long time because I said, well, how do I give dating advice for people that both don't want to date or that do want to date, but on a channel where I talk about how great it is not dating or dating very casually. So I've been thinking about this for the last week or two, and then someone messaged me today. She was very nice, and she said, hey, could you maybe talk about this? And I said, I've been putting this off for long enough, so let me talk about it. So I'm not going to go too much into the specific minor details, like how do I text and what should I text, and because there's videos out there on text game, and but I'm going to move past all that. That's kind of the shiny surface of it. I want to kind of get down to the meat and potatoes. So here's what Joker would do if he wanted to find somebody that was a good woman, and here's what a good woman would have to do to catch herself a joker. And the reason why I'm putting it that way is because this may not fit all of you. This may not be right for all of you, but I can only speak from my own experience. And so this would be what I would be looking for in a woman, probably what a lot of you guys that are wanting to date, what you would be looking for. And if I miss any, please feel free to comment below. And yes, you can comment, don't date, it's a trap, don't do it. But that's not really the point of this video. I dedicate a lot of time to those. I want to talk about, hey, what would it really take if I or some of you guys are entertaining dating, and what you women should kind of realize how we think. Hope that makes that clear. All right, first of all, if you're texting, if you're messaging back and forth, if she mentions just being friends, don't pursue her. End it right there. She might be kidding. She might not be. You don't know. But for the guys, if she mentions at any point, I just want to be friends, or I just look at you as friends, or we're just friends, just drop it. And if that's her playing hard to get or whatever, then she better come back with, I was just kidding, I'm really into you. Because if she doesn't, you don't want to keep chasing. That's low value, and that you're chasing a dead end. At best, she'll say, well, maybe someday, and then you get put in the friend zone, never to come out, and you're miserable. And again, reading is fundamental. Bear with me. Let her know if you're not into just being friends. Let her know that you're not interested in just being friends, and move on. And then it's done. Because a lot of times she may also not know how to say she's not into you, I'm not attracted to you, or whatever, and she may just use the friend line. You don't want to be that guy. Just move on. And if you think she does want to be just friends, she doesn't. Also, don't assume because she is nice to you or she talks to you at all that she's interested. So a lot of times when, especially guys that don't get a lot of attention from women or haven't had a lot of dates and sometimes in texting, it's very hard to get social cues, but whether you're in person or via text, just because she's nice to you or messages you doesn't mean that she's interested in you. A very good point, though, the woman that messaged me today that asked me this question, she had a very interesting nickname for her tag. And she said, my friends call me this nickname. And I said, why do people call you that nickname? She didn't reply. Now, maybe she thought I was, flirting with her or hitting on her. It wasn't the case. I just wanted to know why she had that nickname, but she didn't reply. So the point is, hey, maybe that all of a sudden she's like, hey, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to ask my question. That's okay. That's not a big deal. You have to practice this stuff to get a feeling for it. For women, be clear in your intentions. So even if you say you just want to be friends, men will hang in there hoping that that might change someday. And so you think, oh, he does want to just be my friend. That's not really what the guy's thinking. In many cases, the guy's thinking, well, I'll be her friend for a while, and then when she breaks up with her boyfriend or something changes, maybe I got a shot. Women, guys will hang around for that opportunity, and women, if you really want to be friends, then make it very clear that you are only forever going to be friends and nothing is going to ever happen. But I still say in that circumstance, there's a one-way attraction because the guy asked the girl out, so just walk away. And same thing for the girls. If you ask a guy out and he says, "Nah, I just look at you as a friend," just let it go. Just move on. If you message and they don't get back to you within a reasonable amount of time, call it quits and move on. So, and this is the end for the texting. I'm not getting real deep into it, but if I'm having a good back and forth with somebody and I ask them a question or continue to try to move the conversation along and you hear nothing back, don't message again. Don't force the conversation to go again. Just let it go. If she decides to message you back at some point in time, she will. And if she doesn't, that's okay too. Just assume it's over and don't be the guy or girl that's repeatedly pestering and moving on. Okay, specifically for the women now. Bring your own money to the table. You gals want equality? Okay, we will give it to you. Because I want to make sure I'm not being used for free dinners or free coffees or free outings. So you bring your own money to the table. If he treats you to dinner, you treat for the movies. If one time he treats for coffee, you treat him for a drink or two. Keep it even for a while, especially when you're first casually dating. This will let the guy know I'm not just into you for your financial or whatever. And ladies, if you're not okay with that and you want to be treated like a queen, go find the guy that will spend a little money on you just to try to get you in the bedroom. But a real guy, many of them will say, no, I'm old fashioned and so on and so forth. But you may need to still say, no, please let me. Let's move into this on equal footing. I'm okay with that. Now, if you want a guy that has more financial strength than you have and you want to date up, think of it in the numbers. If a guy is a 6 looking dude, a little better than average, and he's got an 8 financial portfolio, he is a 14. If you are an 8 looking woman and you've got a 6 financial portfolio, you are a 14. You're on even footing. If you are a 10 woman and you've got student debt for 50 grand and you haven't gotten a job yet and you're a barista and you want to date the guy driving around in a Lamborghini, then you're a 10 in looks and a 0 in finance. You're a 10. And for the guy, if he's a 10 in finance, you better be willing to go down maybe a little bit to average or below average to score that guy. What's happening too often is that women think I look like an 8 and I have the finances of even say an 8, then you're a 16. Then you can date a 10 guy with 6 finances or a 6 guy with 10 finances. But there's got to be some play back and forth there. I hope this makes sense. But the woman she looks great in a photo, but she's not so financially secure, but she wants to date the rich, tall, athletic. It doesn't work like that. All your numbers add up to a 15 and you're wanting to date a 25. And a guy like that will spend time with you. He will take you out. He will try to get you to bed, and then he's going to move on. And you're going to be like, oh, what happened? Don't expect more from him than you're willing to bring to the table, ladies. If you're fit, then you're allowed to like someone that's into fitness. If you've got a good income, then wanting somebody that has a stable income is fine. You want to date even. That's the trick of this. Again, the numbers thing. But if you look like a potato, don't expect to get steak, okay? So if you keep yourself in shape and that's important to you, then make sure he keeps himself in shape. But if he's looks awesome with his shirt off and he's got it going on and you don't, understand it is him that is now dating down. And that means you're going to be part-time fun. He doesn't look at you as an equal. He looks at you as an easy catch, an easy laid, so to speak. Lacking a degree does not make him less intelligent. In many ways, it makes him more intelligent. If you go to college and you get, and this is one of my favorite to use, but I'll change it up. If you get a radio broadcasting degree and you're a bartender or a waitress or doing some other job just to get you by until you get your dream job, that education does not make you smarter than the guy that goes out and is an electrician or a plumber or a welder. Does he maybe know some of the great works of Socrates? Maybe, but maybe not. However, I guarantee you that all the book learning in the world going to college like that will not give you a guy that says, I got to go fix the roof, and then I'm going to run new plumbing for a toilet. I'll build this add-on to the house. I'll fix your car. Those guys can really, really know a lot of things. Not only that, but an electrician, a plumber, a welder. There's so many blue-collar, quote-unquote, blue-collar jobs that people look down upon them, but these guys, in a lot of cases, make very solid money. And it's not to say you should use them for the money, but my point is if you're worried about income and finance and what happens if you have a family, these guys, a lot of times, they don't buy new things, they fix their old ones, and they stash their money away. And meaning, not to take them for money, but meaning that they're financially smart, and they a lot of times will save for their future. It also means, though, that many, many, many cases, I almost think they're smarter than college-educated people. To give you an example, I got 1.5 years in college, and I went, this is crap, and I quit, and I did my own thing. I was still a network engineer. I still had 6-figure salary, and I know a lot about a lot. I don't know if that means anything or not to you, but I can certainly speak that my father is brilliant, and it doesn't take formal education to do so. Height, muscles, and really good looks means he's tall, muscular, and attractive. That does not mean that he has a good personality or that he will treat you well. Usually, what it means is if you're not, again, the numbers, if he's a 999 for looks, tall, and attractive, and finance and all that, you start adding all these 8s and 9s and 10s together, he's a 40. If you're showing up and you say, well, I'm a little better than average than looking, and I'm out of college with some debt, and but I'm in pretty good shape, and you're a 20, and again, I'm just using this so you guys can relate to what I'm talking to. If he's a 40 and you're a 20, he's not going to want to date you long term. He's going to use you and leave. That's all there is to it. So, and you have to look at the percentages. I mean, guys that are really athletically cut, like what, 5% of the population? Over 6 foot, 10 or 15% of the population, really financially sound, 5 or 10%, 20% of the population. You shave all that percentages, you wanting the top 1% of men. Look in the mirror and honestly assess yourself. Do I look like a supermodel? Is my figure perfect? And do I bring my own resources to the table as far as finances? If you do, then you shoot for the top 1, 5, 10% if you want. But be advised, those guys have options all day long. Just like maybe if you're that woman, you have options all day long. A lot of times that makes it especially easy to leave because there's temptation in the face all the time. And it's really easy to go, well, things are a little rocky. I'm going to move on. So let's see. Many average guys will treat you better than the women that the top, let me try that again. Many average guys will treat you better than the top 10 or top 20% of guys will treat you. Because if you are a good catch and you find another guy that is also a good catch, you're good catches for each other. But people that are, especially, the guys that have all the choices out there, if you are chasing after him, he doesn't have to treat you well. He doesn't have to be kind to you. He doesn't have to call you back. He doesn't have to message you back. He doesn't have to not cheat on you because he has a lot of other options. You're throwaway. And the same thing can go both ways, I suppose. Okay, no one is 100% of what you're looking for because you're not 100% of what he is looking for. If everybody could go into the computer and build a perfect woman, she probably would have perfect figure, depending on what that is for each guy. It may be different. But there is a perfect figure for every guy. There's probably a perfect hair color, a perfect skin tone, a perfect skin softness, a perfect chesticle size, perfect back size, perfect thighs, perfect income, perfect job. Guys don't go out there and say, oh man, I was really into her, but her skin's a little fairer than I'd like, and so we can't go to the beach because she might sunburn, and she's a redhead and I'm really into brunettes. Guys don't do that. So women, you can't do that. If you're doing that, you're never going to find what you want. Men make sacrifices to find the girlfriend. They'll say, you know something? Instead of being an 8 in the looks department, she's maybe a 6 in the look department. But instead of being a 7 body, she's got a 9 body. Or she's super intelligent and really funny, and she makes me laugh and happy to be around her, so I will drop this. You can't walk into it, and you also can't walk into it with all these sliding scales. You just have to be natural with it. If you have some chemistry with somebody and you have a good conversation, don't find reasons to rule them out. Find reasons to rule the guy in. The top 10 to 20% of dudes don't need a partner. In most cases, they don't want one. Or if they do, you're not it. They're just going to have some fun with you and move on. And don't think you can change him in the long term. You cannot change him in the long term. He doesn't want long term. He wants to, now he may say he wants long term, but the truth is usually when he may be in a dry spell, he wants something for a longer period of time, but when he gets more attention, there is a good chance that he will stray. And everybody can do that, but the higher on the attractive scale you are, the market value, the higher your market value, the more options you're going to have. I guarantee you, not that you should do this necessarily, but I guarantee you that a beautiful woman with all her own resources wants to be with a 35-year-old Danny DeVito. That Danny DeVito guy will worship the ground that she walks on. Just as an example. You better, another thing, you better be 100% happy on your own. If you're missing something, if you're finding you need somebody, if you're finding that you feel lonely and you want to date to have somebody in your life, you're not ready yet. You've got to shore up the walls and make sure you are good, happy, and whole as a person by yourself before you try to bring anybody else into that. No one else can complete you. No one else can fulfill the void in your life. That is all up to you. Otherwise, there's some weird dependency issues that can come up. And then you might not even want to be with a person anymore, but you're too afraid to be alone. Don't be that person. If you're not all the way in and a completely happy person where you don't need somebody for money or to spend time with, or because you're bored, or because your friends are getting married and having kids, but you haven't yet, you're not there yet. You've got to be completely happy with your life before you can try to move someone else into it. Okay, waiting for intimacy. If you're short-term and you're casual, this doesn't matter. You do your thing. But if you want to have a long-term relationship with a guy, you have to know, you have to make him wait. And the guys that are just out to hit it and quit it, they don't want to wait around. Because, again, they will have other options. And so they'll say, you know what, she's dragging her feet. I'm not getting any inroads here. I'm going to move along. And they will move along. So you have to make a guy wait. How long? That's up to you. But I would say don't make it an artificially long or short time. If you like him, let him know you like him. And if you want to be with him, let him know you want to be with him. But don't rush things. And before you jump into bed, make sure you understand, both of you understand the rules, which is, this is short term. I'm just casual right now. I'm looking for a long-term person. And before we get started on this, I want you to be it. And don't do this 3 minutes before it happens, because the guy will say anything at that point to make it happen. I mean, in the first date or 2 or 3, once you realize maybe there's someone you want to get to know better, make sure you're on the same page about that. As in, I only am intimate with people that I have a long-term relationship with, that I know, and that have the same long-term plans that I have. If the agreement is yes on that, long before the hormones and long before the excitement gets there, as long as you got this ironed out, then when it comes time to it, then you don't have to have this talk and make it weird. Then you can just go into it knowing that you're going into this as boyfriend and girlfriend or dating, and then it's going to happen. People get it confused. They're like, oh, I'll be casual and we'll sleep with this person. Oh, wow, I really like this person. Let's make this sleeping together into something long-term. Doesn't work like that. He can change his mind. You can change your mind. And it's not to say that lying won't occur, but if you drag out the process of if you do the dating right, and then you vet for red flags, and then you get to know them, and you discuss long-term plans, and at some point before the bedroom, I would suggest talking about real long-term plans, if that is what you're going for, ladies. Otherwise, if you're just, hey, I'm out to have fun, let him know that you're just into having fun. And if he's not cool with that, he'll bounce. More than likely, he'll be like, I'm going to get some. Let's go for it. Next, learn about his or her, for you guys watching, learn about his or her family and friends. That is going to say everything you need to know about them. And the whole time you're going to be screening for red flags. Now, I've gone through my red flag video. I did it a couple episodes ago. I'm not going to go through all that again, but don't make it an interview. Be creative. In other words, if you want to know, societally, what they find interesting, ask them, who's someone you look up to? Good answers. My mom, my dad, my grandmother, my grandfather, my brother, this teacher I once had, Nikola Tesla, right? Or if you could have dinner with anyone, alive or dead, who would it be? And listen, because, for me personally, it would probably be Nikola Tesla. That's why I use that one as an example. Maybe it would be one of the great thinkers, one of the great Stoics. Maybe it would be Leonardo da Vinci. I almost said Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo da Vinci. Maybe it would be someone like that. But if they're like Nicki Minaj or something like that, that's a big red flag, right? So screen for red flags. This is what you do across dates. You find ways to talk, to get to know each other. And this is before you've ever entered the physical realm. It's an old school philosophy. It's old school, dating all the way back to the 80s, maybe the 90s. It's called dating. It's a really novel idea. Another big one, be honest about your past and your future short and long-term goals. You got to be honest about everything, which also means don't be playing games. So whether it's in texting, have fun games, but don't be playing hard to get. Don't be making him chase and do all this. Okay, because playing hard to get used to mean you had to go on a lot of dates to get to know somebody before you went to the bedroom. That's playing hard to get. Don't do this crap of, I'm not interested in him, and then all of a sudden he stops, like to just be friends, or I have a boyfriend when you really don't. Don't start off that path, because then a guy with quality and with value say, I respect your place, I respect your space, I didn't know you had a boyfriend, see you later, and he will not reach out to you again. Or if you try let's just be friends, or I'm not sure what I want right now, but a guy does, he will leave you alone and just ghost you. So don't play games like that, okay? But be honest about your short and long-term goals. You want to date casually? Tell him that. If you say, I don't want to be intimate with anybody that I'm not in a monogamous, serious relationship with, tell him that. And the thing is that words are cheap. Actions speak much louder than words. Well, guess what? When you've gone on multiple dates and you're trying to find out about him and you're learning about him and he's learning about you, that's where you want to go with this kind of thing. If you want a serious relationship, that's the way it's got to be taken. If he asks you about kids, be honest. Be honest. If he asks you about the number of past partners you have, be honest. Now, we often say, well, women will automatically divide by 3 and men automatically multiply by 3 to make themselves sound like studs and to make women sound less promiscuous. Look, if you've got a bad past, the last thing you want to do is lie about it. Because if he ever finds the truth later on, it should be instant breakup. Because no matter how close you've gotten, no matter how great things are, because he can never trust you again, ever. If you have a bad past count, tell him and explain why you had a bad past count. And if he says, I'm not okay with that, then he's not the right person for you. Does that make it much harder to date? It does, which is why I call it a needle in a needle stack. A needle in a needle stack. It's very hard to find the right person, and you're going to feel a lot of pain on the way. But never be dishonest with each other. And this will go also, while I think of it, this goes the same thing. If you ask your dude, hey, does this outfit make my butt look fat? And he goes, you know, it kind of does. Those vertical stripes are not doing it. Looks like you've put on 10 pounds. He's not hating on you. Because if he was hating on you, he'd pack his bags and say, I'm leaving, fatty. That's what he'd do. If he's still with you and he cares about you, he's going to tell you the truth. Don't make him lie about it. Because either A, you'll know he's lying and you go, oh, how sweet, he lies for me. But then you're not going to get an objective truth about it. If she or he isn't performing the way you want in the bedroom and it's not hitting your excitement levels, discuss it. Don't drop hints. And you don't have to be mean about it. Just say, hey, you know something? Here's what I like. I'd like to do this with you. Are you okay with this? Just talk about it. And if he's going to go do something that makes you upset, like go hang out with his friends or whatever it is, he promised you're going to do something Saturday morning and his buddies have a once in a lifetime trip to go hunting. You let him go hunting. Let him keep his friends in his life. They should be just as important, if not more important than you, until you're deeply, deeply serious. You should never make a guy move anyone out of his life except, I would say, females. Women that are still interested in him should go on the wayside, and guys in your life. And I think I have this written down later on, but ladies, if you have guy friends and you want to get serious with a man, in minimal, the least you should do is at least introduce him as your boyfriend to all these guys. And you better make darn well sure all your guy friends know that he's number one in your life and they are just friends. But better, if you really want to make a committed, smart, good guy definitely feel better about the situation, you tell your guy friends, you know something, I've got a guy in my life right now and he's my everything. And if I need a man's opinion, I'm going to ask him. If I want to spend time with a guy, I'm going to ask him and I'm going to be with him. You don't think back to and it's a little traditionalist, but you don't think back to the 50s and 60s and picture the housewife hanging out with a bunch of guy friends down at the pool hall. Doesn't happen. A wife had the man in her life was her husband, and the woman in the guy's life was his wife. And if they had friends, it was all couples, and they all knew each other. So you may have to, you got to keep that in mind. If you're unwilling to, and those men mean that much to you, you got to understand that maybe a guy's not willing to deal with that, and that may cost you a relationship. And no matter what, and I'll leave it at this, no matter what comes up, always be honest about everything, because when you lie, you're taking away the other person's choice on the matter. If I have a chocolate and vanilla ice cream and I say, do you want some vanilla ice cream? And they say yes, you say, well, they got their ice cream. Maybe they like chocolate 3 times better and would have preferred that. The same thing goes when you tell them there is no chocolate, so you can have the chocolate and you give them the vanilla. You're taking away someone's choice. So when you have had a tumultuous past or a bad past, you've had problems with your family, you're in a lot of school debt, no matter, you once had some guy friends and you slipped up and got drunk and slept with them, you better be honest with all that stuff, because otherwise what you're doing is you're making a fake person. You're not really being you. And that person that's maybe falling in love with you or wants to be with you, he's not wanting to be with you. He wants to be with who you're representing to be. That can only last so long. You can only keep that. I mean, maybe you keep it hidden forever, but you're never going to have a good relationship out of it. And lastly, on this whole portion of it, understand men know other men. And your boyfriend knows the vast majority of your male friends will just sleep with you if given the opportunity, because that's how men are wired. As a matter of fact, they will do it because they're men. It's called testosterone. It's called the way men think. It's in our genes. It's in our DNA. So understanding that when you say, no, I will not get rid of my guy friends, a guy will probably think, she's either attracted to them or she wants to be with them, or maybe there's something going on there. That's just the way it is. So unless you're willing to lop them off, then, again, the guy may not want to be with you. Communication above all else. Like I said before, if you're unhappy in the bedroom, if your weight or health becomes a concern, and ask him, Like, are you less attracted to me if I put on 5, 10 pounds? If he says, it doesn't really do it for me, don't shame him. He's telling you the truth. He's telling you what you are doing is affecting how I feel about you. And if you continue down this path, I may leave. And you need to take that back in the other direction. And same thing goes for a guy. You know, if I start dating somebody and I got a good six pack and I look great in a mirror and all of a sudden I decide to eat, 7,000 calories a day and I'm not looking so good anymore, better to say that to the person that you love or care about, hey, I'm not feeling the extra weight. And then they have a choice, either A, correct it, in which case you're happy again, or B, you leave them, in which case they didn't care enough about you to stay in the same shape and in the same way that they were with you with. The only thing that bars that would be an injury. If they get injured and can't go out to lift, or like right now with the lockdowns and everything, if they can't hit the gym. I know I've put on 10 pounds just because. Okay, women, don't plan to live with a guy. Don't plan to live with him. Why? For the reasons I just mentioned. The minute you say, hey, you know what, let's move in together because it saves money. Bad answer. Bad answer. Because now it's not about wanting to be with each other. It's about financial sense. And guess what? Now you're trapped. If you get a nice place together that neither one of you can afford on your own, you're trapped with a person. Now, if they aren't what you want anymore, but you say it's easier to stay with them than leave, you're trapped. Don't live it with each other because you say, well, we see each other all the time anyway. Things can change. You both need to have a separate place to go to. Why? Because you both should be taking a lot of time by yourself still. With other friends, you want to keep your other relationships with family members, everybody else you want to keep normal. You just spend more time together. But it can't be all the time with each other all the time, because then you leave behind all the other healthy relationships you had and you become dependent on each other. That's not where you want to be. Then it's not a relationship of choice. It's a relationship of I'm trapped. Because again, you're going to need time apart, and you need to be able to leave at any time. And lastly, guys, if you move in with a woman, and a lot of places you move in for a certain amount of time at the same address, you are now responsible for financial obligations, and it can be treated like, almost treated like a common law marriage. And so a smart man will not get in that situation, so women, don't ask him to. And lastly, don't leave anything behind after each visit. I know it sounds crazy. Don't leave clothes. Don't leave the feminine products underneath the kitchen counter for those days. Don't leave anything behind. Keep in separate and just make your time together the time together. If you bring an outfit for the next day and you're spending the night, take your old outfit with you. Now, after multiple years and things are going along for a long period of time, and then you decide, hey, let's make this extremely long term, like this is it, we're good, then you can revisit that. But until you're absolutely sure, don't do it. And lastly, women, don't expect him to marry you. Don't expect him until the laws change and the way men are treated on divorce and the way men are treated in child custody cases. Do not expect him to marry you. Here's the thing. Marriage is a false sense of security. Yes, it is harder to get divorced than to just walk away from somebody. But do you really want to have to stay with somebody because you're married to them? No. I'll tell you something. Smart guys won't get married, not only just because of the courts, but and smart women won't get married either. And I'll tell you why, because that's all legal stuff. If you want to be with each other, be with each other. And that's all that really should matter. And when it comes to kids, doesn't matter. Look at today's society. There are so many divorced people and single moms and single dads, many more single moms than single dads, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So don't expect him to get married, and marriage is not the end all to be all, because it is a false sense of security. And something else that's really important too is that if you get married and he or she decides to get fat, decides to not come home on time, wants to go out with their friends, and just generally becomes a bad actor, you're now trapped with him. The best relationship, the way that you keep things honest and you keep things working, is kind of almost the opposite of what it was a few decades ago. The best way you keep each other being exactly the person you want to stay with is by not promising anything, especially marriage. Because women, if you know he can leave at any point in time if you start acting up or being poor, a poor actor. And guys, if you know that she can bounce on you and there's no ties there, when she gets tired of you or decides that she wants to go chase a different dude, and she can just say, we're breaking up, and she leaves, and she's not required for half the rent, and you don't owe her child support, and you don't pay, it's easy. Then the only reason you're with each other is because you want to be with each other. That's the way it's got to be today. You know, the way things used to work out is over. That's old school thinking. You guys, and I know, ladies, I'm mostly talking to you on this video, but you guys have to protect yourselves. And women, if you're with a red-pilled smart guy who wants to protect himself, he's not going to be married. He's not going to live with you. He's going to want to keep his garage full of motorcycles and his friends, and he's going to keep his hobbies. And maybe you only get to see him 2 times a week or 3 times a week or whatever it is you guys decide to work out. That's the way it is. If you want somebody in your life more than that, you don't have enough hobbies and activities and friends, and you don't have a healthy life on your own. And again, then once you get way into it, if you want to spend more time together, go for it. But not for a while, because you've got a lot of vetting and a lot of figuring things out. People are jumping way in backwards now because they jump into bed first and try to work everything outward from there. It doesn't work like that. Not if you want a long-term relationship. And my last bit of advice for you ladies is that if you want a strong, smart, successful, powerful, go-get-'em, alpha dude, you have to let him be a smart, successful, powerful, strong alpha dude. You have to let him lead the show. A good, strong man is not going to want to wrestle the reins with you if you're a big, strong woman or a good, strong, empowered woman. They're not going to want to wrestle the reins all the time from you. They're going to want to take the lead. And if you found a good guy that you can really love and really care for, and he meets all your criteria and you meet all of his, you should be happy to let him take the reins. Because then that's one less thing you need to worry about. You can worry and focus on work. You can worry about your career. And then when you come home, you don't have to try to make the decisions for the family. He will be more than happy to try to head things down in the right direction. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have discussions about it. It doesn't mean that you kowtow and bow down to everything he says. But it means that you need to think of it as 55-45 or 60-40. Let him have the majority of the way things go. And you know something? Then when you step up and you say, you know something, this is really important to me, and it would really mean a lot to me. If he loves you and he wants to make you happy, he will do it for you. Just don't abuse that. Because if you do, that's where guys start falling into problems and saying, you know what, she's manipulative. She's always trying to control me. She's always this, that, and the other thing. Guys, if you can think of anything I haven't said and you want to say it down below, go for it. I know this was skewed a little bit more towards the gals on this one, but I think most of you, or I hope most of you, would agree with me that if you do want to date, this is the type of woman that should step forward and try to date you. And there may be some slight differences here, but I think, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I tried to do something a little different, and I'm on my meds for my twisted ankle, and so I'm in a much more casual mood about this. So, guys, I'll leave it there. If you'd like to support my work, links are below as always. If you have, thank you very much. And the best way you can support me is like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'll leave it there. This is Better Bachelor. I'm Joker, and remember, you know, there are a lot of guys that are out. There's a lot of us that are out. But for those of us that are left in, and for those women that are looking for those guys, I think this is a good guideline. Let me know if you think any different.